In my men's group, I'll be honest, like we're going through some stuff right now. I meet every Wednesday morning. We call it extreme accountability. When I say extreme accountability, understanding that ownership of something doesn't mean that you can't fail, but it's how you fail. Because if you fail with excuses, that's not ownership.
Yeah, putting those excuses in other places.
And that's not just to myself, but extreme accountability to others. In turn, just owning it.
Are you learning anything in this group, or?
Oh, the thing is this is the...
I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, no, we're still trying to figure that out. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Never in Reverse podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Axel, with my co-host, Doug Cox. Doug, welcome, man.
Yeah, what's going on? How was your weekend?
Oh, dude, it was a grinder. A lot of family things. Had some neighbors over, a little barbecue last night.
Oh, there you
Some
go.
tri-tips, smoked for a few hours. It was wonderful. How about yours?
Not bad, not bad. Kind of overdid it around here a little bit. Had to get some chores and some things done, get caught up on some stuff. But no, and then we had sports, so we had soccer game Saturday, flag football game yesterday, and yeah, had a chance to relax a little bit too. So
How'd Tegan play?
He played good. He had a good game yesterday. Their team as a whole was a little off. I don't know if the kids were just tired from the weekend or what, but, late in the game, he had a big run off a handoff. And then the very next play caught a touchdown pass. So now it was exciting to watch. And then Kaya had a good soccer game too. She made quite a few good plays. So no, it was great.
Yeah. I can't wait for Sterling and Levi to get in that side of things. Right now, they're just running around playing yard games and stuff, but we've been starting to introduce them to other avenues of athletics just so they can start diving into that. But
it's fun watching the kids compete. It is a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, it's we tried him in soccer when there's about two, and dude, he could not
chasing butterflies.
Oh man, dude, it was under trees, you name it. I said I can't do this again for a while. So
I know where they get that from. You.
Yeah, it's chasing squirrels, man. If you absolutely. Well, Doug, I'm glad you just woke up.
Just got out of the rack. Joined. Yeah.
Pretty standard, guys. Doug likes to sleep in. I'm at his alarm clock every day.
Yeah, so. Right. 4:45 up and rolling. Yeah, exactly.
His 4:45 is usually he's 2 hours behind me. So,
oh gosh, no, you know how it is when you got a household. You got to get kids ready for school, and they're banking on us to kind of get their day started, especially a Monday after they've had a long weekend and they're tired, and it's like, all right, guys, we got to roll. Get up, come on.
And that Monday level of accountability, man, that is hard. Like you got to get out of the rack. Like, I mean, that's tough for you. Like every week I'm like pulling hair with you.
Oh, and just, and Mondays are tough, I mean, but again, it's, families counting on you to, help them get their day started. And, you gotta kind of be that promoting and pushing force sometimes, after, they've had a long weekend and played and everything else, but it's like, okay, it's time to get up. Let's get the week started. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're looking at us, right? Like your kids and my kids to step up and lead the pack, and they're going to, what they see, they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're going to follow suit.
Oh, yep. 100%. And just resorting back to that, just being accountable to yourself to start leading your family, right? That's a whole topic.
Oh yeah. It's leading by example, and what you permit, you promote, right? So, they see us in action, it's going to be easier to follow suit. So, there is that, that accountable factor as parents to hold them accountable as well too. But to be able to hold somebody accountable, you have to be accountable first with yourself.
Yeah. And I think that let's dive into that a little bit. I think it's being accountable to others, right? Not just yourself right away. Let's just talk about others. So being accountable to others is very, very important in many facets of your life, right? Let's not think about friends or family or you as leader in your household, but just being accountable to others in your life. Say on our team.
Yeah.
What do you foresee? I mean, like, what's some examples? Like, there's failures in accountability all the time. I mean, we always let people down. We're always, but accountability has nothing to do with failure. Give me some examples for you, like where you felt especially joining us, Doug, is like
Mm-hmm.
the levels of accountability that no rock is ever not turned over. It's always turned over in this
Right.
environment.
Right. In this industry, there's a lot of moving parts, right? A lot. And it's being organized and fulfilling on promises, right? I think first and foremost, or fulfilling on what you say you're going to do. That's an important element of it. But also, you know, we have to be motivated within ourselves to hold ourselves accountable to make sure that we complete and follow tasks to where at the end of the day, because if you don't, all that stuff is just going to roll up into the next day. And then if you procrastinate, it continues to build up. But then guess what happens? Mistakes are made, obligations aren't filled, customers aren't satisfied, then teammates, because we're not holding ourselves to a high standard, of accountability that they can build trust within and know that, what, if I ask Doug to do something or Doug says he's going to do something or Jeremy does, they fulfill it. They, as promised, they fulfill that task. And it's always, I think I said this on the last show, but if you take care of the little things, the big things take care of themselves. I know it's a kind of a cliche old saying, but there's a lot of truth to that. A lot. But again, you got to hold yourself to that, that standard of accountability of my responsibilities, because other teammates, especially here, rely on that.
I think you're right. I think about the accountabilities to other in our ecosystem, and what that means to me is just what you say you do. And I think it's a very, very simple practice. And if you can't do what you say, to be highly accountable is to actually own that position and acknowledge it for the factors that might not allow you to fulfill that obligation. Once don't know it and sit behind it and allow that time to pass when people are relying on you. And the accountability sector of that is you have someone waiting, or we've seen that in this environment. Those, the team members that kind of can't get out of those habitual things that are in their own way, they typically, unfortunately, it's not a great fit for them, because we are going to be highly accountable. I mean, there's moments that I'm not accountable to myself, honestly, where there's tasks that I got one right now that is on my list that I can't, it doesn't motivate me. It's something that's an energy draining facet to me, but I know what I just said. I responded to the moment and said, I'll get this today. And it has to do with just parts in our ERP system. Okay.
Yep.
It's not something that drives me on the top side
in the present.
No. Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I know it needs to get done. So I said, hey, listen, I'll get it done today. I got a couple things prior, and today I'll handle that. But the accountability to the others is actually so important, because they if we do that as a team and everyone's pulling together and actually accountable, it just creates this positive environment that we're in this together.
100%. Yep.
And you're not waking up the next day with 1,000 excuses, and the excuses of when you miss things that you said you were going to do to be accountable. Just give the rationale, the truth behind why, even if you missed the deadline and it was your fault.
And it's leadership too, right? I mean, like we're fortunate enough. We got a lot of leaders on this team, that really hold themselves to a high standard, and you got to lead by example. That starts at the top, and you give great examples of that. I mean, you are the first one to show up, the last one to leave. Others in the organization definitely see that, but but then again, we've been in I've been in, upper management roles and leadership roles. You have to be efficient. You have to deliver. And on this team, it's much the same, because we volley a lot of things back and forth, of need help with this or need, you know what I mean? There's a lot of times that there's just moving elements that at that point in time, that responsibility falls on another individual before it ultimately makes it back to maybe myself or yourself or any of the others on the team.
Yeah. In my men's group, I'll be honest with you, like we're going through some stuff right now. I meet every Wednesday morning, and then we're going through we call it extreme accountability. When I say extreme accountability to, and that's not just to myself, but just extreme accountability to others, and in turn, just owning it.
are you learning anything in this group, or
Oh, the thing is this is
I'm kind of curious.
yeah, no, we're still trying to figure that out. But no, it's the extreme accountability method, and just understanding that ownership of something doesn't mean that you can't fail. You can fail, but it's how you fail
And
how you
respond.
fail. Because if you fail with excuses, that's not ownership.
Yep, that's that
And
response.
that's not extreme accountability. That
No.
is that's a what do you call it when you're kind of like pushing it to something else? It's like
Procrastinating or
no,
just putting it off, or
it's
I
like when
see
you
it
get in an
happening
argument with a
quite
friend or
often, but
your
yeah.
wife, but you push it to someone else. You take the ownership of the problem and try to make it someone else. Oh, I did that because of you, or you're passing the buck.
Yeah, putting those excuses, in other places. Putting
Own it. Extreme level ownership, like own the good, the bad, and everything in between as a unit. And you're going to find this beautiful thing inside of life, I think, that occurs where the layers of trust of people and loyalty around you, when you show up and you're in the hardest part of life and the best part of life, but you own every, part of that. I think people give you a detailed, like a really beautiful level of respect, honestly, that is like, man, this guy he's never gonna fail and then ask me to do something that he's unwilling to go face himself.
right,
Or
right. Yeah.
like I've had that, like, dude, you won't even do this. Like, you can't ask me to do something you're not willing to do
No,
yourself.
exactly. That's it. I mean, you gotta, if you're asking somebody to do something, you had to have spent some time in the trenches, right? And I used to see that, in other organizations that I worked at, and in the leaders behind the curtain would sit there and orchestrate and give orders, but yet they wouldn't know how to fulfill that objective or that obligation, but yet they're asking others to do it and they're trying to orchestrate it. And it's like, you've never laced up your boots and done it yourself. So how can you criticize these other folks?
Yeah, exactly.
It's unfair.
I don't know necessarily it's unfair. I would just say it's, from my end, it's like poor leadership. Like, if you're going to come with something of an instance, any part of your life, you need to at least go with, if it's new to you, go with them. Go with them on the journey.
Yeah, listen to them.
Don't sit on general on the hill and bark orders without the understanding that you're not willing to do the same thing. Go with them. If we're going to go run, gassers during football practice, I'm not going to go tell you to do 10 if I've never done it. I'm going to go do it with you, and we're going to go feel the pain together. Like, right? Like,
yeah. Well, you never finished any of those anyways, because you're always faking injuries.
Oh, dude. Buddy, I was the first one done every time. We call you Daddy Longlegs. You're all moving in reverse.
That's right. Well, I was fast enough to run in reverse. That was the deal.
Where's Dog Guy? He's last.
Yeah, that's right.
No, so I just think that giving us extreme accountability for everyone in our team, and when you start surrounding people around you that have that mentality or can learn it or open to change, it just creates an ecosystem and I think a part of your life that allows a ton of loyalty and trust.
No, exactly. And then when you go back and ask, for something, it's the response, from teammates or others around you, they're more willing to jump in, lend a hand, take on a task, knowing that this individual that's kind of asking me to do this could fulfill it themselves, but there's just a different response mechanism in that, where there's this trust and things that are established, because this individual holds themselves accountable and is very responsible to what their obligations are. And when I ask of them to do something, they fulfill it, so it's easier to ask and listen. You get a better response, and I think that's unnoticed. I think with a lot of people that are in leadership positions, they take it for advantage. Sometimes it's like, I'm up here.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's kind of like you when you wake out of bed. That monkey move right there was pretty beautiful.
Oh,
so
like
that's no. So I think let's take
gorilla.
We're going to run into a quick short break here for a little bit, but after this, we're going to dive into some other layers of life that have accountability within it. So we'll be back here shortly, guys, and we'll touch base soon. Hey guys, welcome back to Never in Reverse podcast. We're gonna keep on this same topic of accountability. Doug just actually got a haircut. He shaved his man bun off.
I did. I mean, my flow is gone. I'm not
He's
taking my hat off though, because I got a lot more forehead than I used to have, and I got
buddy.
I got a cul-de-sac that's coming in the back here too.
Yeah, Doug throws. There's some stuff called this black powder. It like sticks to the scalp. Doug rocks that. So
you seem to know a lot about this.
Hey,
Easy
you
there,
Joe
Silver
Haney.
Fox, those gray hairs you're working there. You're the hair club for men, bud.
Oh, buddy,
It's never too late.
I might grow this out so you can get a little sparkle over there.
Yeah.
No, so let's yeah, exactly. Let's stay on the same topic, guys. We're going to dive into accountability and how it goes into like family, friends, loved ones, and then just how we wrap our Doug and I's accountability around that. Doug, these are passionate topics that you and I have kind of offline have had.
We've had a lot of talk. I mean, just over the years, with the changes and things in life and relationships and kids. And no, you're right. We've kind of armchair quarterback this one on the side, just on the weekends chatting, or when we're on the road together. It's because at the end of the day, it's not always candy canes and rainbows. It's like you got to roll your sleeves up and show up here, and highly motivated, and then the family need us when we get home as well too.
Yeah, and that's a whole dynamic, right? You and I've been through some massive amount of setbacks in that area from accountability that, as a man, I can tell you, like me personally, like I thought showing up and being highly accountable was providing for my family financially, right?
It's much
and,
more, yeah.
Oh my gosh, like it was a very challenging period of time for me, and I think I shared that a little bit on the last time. It's like I was definitely not accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Like my wife was trying to hold me accountable, and I fought tooth and nail around self accountability, showing up for my family, and it put a dynamic inside of my home where my ego was just, oh, we're successful. I'm over here providing. Look at me. I want affirmation and high fives. And man, I was actually hurting my family.
And it's tough. Like I watch my wife. I mean, she runs circles around me, in this house. But then again, they need some reprieve. They need to know that there's other supporting help with us, even when our tanks are empty, after a long, grueling day, a lot of time on the phone, things going on. And it's like, you got to come in and you got to lend that hand in the household too. If it's just helping with dinner, if it's just rotating the laundry, whatever it may be.
It's not about goal, like a high level of accountability in the home, right? Like as men, from a general cultural standpoint, we're taught to provide a financial paycheck, just take care of the home. That's what we're missing it. We need to reset and have extreme accountability in our home for our kids, for our emotional side of our kids, showing up with more than we've given at our jobs. And that sometimes requires, clear communication to your spouse or your loved ones, depending on your situation, just a high level of stepping into that environment as the best version of yourself. But also, I think accountability is also having a clear communication with that other person that, like, listen, today was a hard day for me. I don't have the ability to give you what I need today.
Yeah. And there's going to be those days, and that's okay to maybe surrender, throw the flag, or just give what you can, but again, it's communication, right? I mean, we gotta let our spouses know, we got to let our children know, okay, you know what, tonight let's just take a break, sit on the couch, relax, decompress. But it's hard. It's hard at the end of the day.
But just showing, not even that it's hard, but I think the extreme ownership of that situation, like if you can't show up, have extreme ownership in yourself.
Right.
Like sit in yourself, understand you well enough, and you love and care about yourself enough.
Yeah.
That you're owning your current situation for that environment. Like, listen, babe, I need 15, 20 minutes to step out and go on a walk with myself so that I can come back wholeheartedly.
Refocus, or energized.
Exactly. Own it.
Engaged. So what you brought it up here a second ago about how, there was this missing element,
Oh,
in your house? I mean, did you put some goals in place? Did you kind of strategize how you wanted to handle and mitigate these things, or to make
oh
changes? What
man.
what worked for you?
That as you can see, I just took a deep breath, but that it was hard, man.
Yeah.
I didn't get, I was never led in a home with extreme ownership and leadership. It was tossing grenades and let's see what's
Fend
left.
for yourself.
Oh, dude, like
Yeah.
let's honestly, let's see
Yeah.
what's left, and then I'll pick up the pieces, but I'm not going to do it with extreme ownership and authentic realization that
Yeah.
I
And
created something.
engagement.
But so my
Yeah.
wife, man, she was at her last end, and I just said, hey, man, I got to make some big changes. So and I'm still going through it, and
Yeah.
so those big changes started with me like really understanding that no matter how much effort I put into
You're eight
our
to five.
organization,
Yeah.
or it's not going to get to where it needs to go without fulfilling my obligations as a dad, as a husband.
No,
And
exactly.
because I was, dude, there's that side of my life was dying around me, looking for me on the sidelines, and I was showing up not even with no ownership, no
Yeah.
accountability, full of excuses, to be quite frank with you, because it was almost
Hmm.
this area of my life that I was never taught to own.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, listen, man, like you got to show up. And if
Yeah.
you're here, be here. If you're not here, step out, own it.
Yeah.
Own yourself, extreme ownership. If you need to step out of the sidelines and take a phone call, step out. Don't do it acting like you're here being this superhero dad when you're half in, half out. Step out, go do what you
Exactly.
got to do, own it, and come back
Come
in
back, re-engage.
as a whole.
Yeah.
Come back wholeheartedly, right? Like
Yeah.
own it. But it came down to where to be honest, I needed my wife to just push me, and so I joined a men's group, man, and I was like, I'm gonna dive into
Hmm.
discovering what it means to be a great man, like
Hmm.
to have layers that I was never taught. Like, because if you
Yeah.
weren't taught and you just keep dragging that on, I mean, I was dragging on ownership and extreme accountability around things
Right.
that were just poison,
Yeah. Yeah.
poison. And I was like, hey, that's how I was taught.
Yeah.
Like,
No, and my wife here a couple years ago, I kind of became this broken record,
yep,
of telling the kids I would do things and I
yes,
wouldn't fulfill it.
yep,
Because I'd make an excuse, oh, work, I'm tired. Yeah, let's just do it. We'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it next weekend. And my wife, she goes, look, this is a couple years back, and it was a real enlightening moment. And she goes, I want you to think about, you know, the promises that you've made to the kids, or told them you would do things and you didn't fulfill it. And she goes, you're setting things up for disappointment. And I went, oh my gosh. And I just reflected, no matter what, if I tell them I'm going to do something, I got to do it, because
100%.
because it's not fair to them. It's disappointment. It was like my daughter on Wednesday last week, my youngest. She's been learning to ride her bike, and she's doing pretty good. So we got the training wheels off it, and I told her on Sunday, I said, look, I'll take you to the park on Wednesday where it's flatter ground. You can just work on your balance and ride, right? So Wednesday came around, and Lindsay's like, hey, we told Kaya we'd take her to the park, to ride her bike around the bike path there. And I said, yep. And I was dog tired, but once I got out there and walked the path, and my wife and I are like, this was a beautiful evening. This was awesome. And the joy that little girl got of that, she'll remember forever. If I would have let her down and made an excuse,
Yep.
that disappointment, oh, who knows? I mean, she may have carried that on forever, but she got to see the fulfillment of me being accountable, saying I was going to do something and doing it. But that's also leading by example too. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, you do it.
Yeah, and I think
it's important. It's not only
yeah.
important in an organization, but it's important at home.
And I think it just going back to the topic of manhood and what we all need to kind of step back and start looking at life through a
Mhm.
different lens, is that
Mhm.
accountability in your home. I was raised, Doug, on that topic of that kind of hits home to me. I was raised in a home where there was empty promises, and every angle that was promised was always underdelivered. And guess what happened? It created resentment. No trust. Extreme disappointment.
Oh, 100%.
And my expectations from that, when I started just getting groomed in that environment, I was like, man, let's see it happen. And so you and me with that is like extreme accountability in our home. We can't just be extremely accountable in our work environment because we feel like, man, we have to provide. Like it is time to step up as men in this society and start leading in our homes and creating better humans and going, listen, man, I said I'm going to do something. No matter how tired I am, because all that is excuses. We can't create that letdown. We got to create this environment with our children that's like, man, my dad is accountable. He's accountable.
Yeah, and you got to be vulnerable too, right? I mean, like with your wife, or and take constructive criticism, and accept it and listen to it. You know, and early on in my wife and I's relationship, it was like my opinion's what mattered. My voice is what mattered. I'm the man of the house. Okay. No marriage is perfect. There's arguments, there's fights, there's disagreements, right? But the important part is listening, and over time I had gotten better of listening to my wife and the feedback that I was getting. And it's like, you know what? There's a reason why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth to listen, and no, I mean, and there's many moments I'll kind of get down this path and then she reels me in, or I mean, shoot, there's been times when you're, Doug, why are you doing this? Do it that way. And you gotta be vulnerable. You gotta take constructive criticism because people are seeing things that you may not, or you're trying to ignore.
Oh, and you'll see it. Like I used to have collateral damage all around me, guys. There was just things that I would, I'm an unfiltered type guy, but there's also, you're going to get me as you get me.
No F-bombs out of you today. It's kind of...
there's none of those. But this comes down to the next deeper layers, like showing up for yourself, yourself. The layers of accountability to oneself, like the mirror, right? Last week, the last episode, like the mirror, like, man, it is so easy to hide.
Got to self-reflect. Yeah.
It's so easy. And I'll tell you what, pause. If you see something around you that may have happened, or you owe someone an apology, man, I do it to my kids. I'll tell you what, there's one thing with my kids being highly accountable and my faults. My kids, like I messed up last night. My kid did something. I put him inside, grabbed him, put him inside. He was not excited about that. And I at night I said, "Hey, Sterling, I am so sorry that you felt that way." And you know what he said? "Okay, Dad, thanks." But I'm gonna own it. Like I have to lead and show up for myself. And he didn't ask me for an apology. It was mine. I had to own that.
You took and you realized it, and you took the responsibility in that, and that's beautiful. I mean, I've been there too. I mean, I've done things or discipline of the kids. And sometimes maybe a little harsh, maybe a little over aggressive, but and then by the time my emotion comes out of it and I cool, and I've gone to them and I've been like, hey, look, I could have handled this differently. I apologize that it went to this extreme or this element, but do you also realize why I'm disciplining you? And I'll ask them that question, but then again, I'll apologize maybe if I was, again, had too much emotion wrapped around it, and it's deserving of that, because there's times we just get worked up. I know how it goes. It's like, I can only ask you to pick those shoes up so many times.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's and that's like us, that we're guiding them. These guys, they're just little guys, right? But I think the thing for just ownership of, like, if you sit back and you literally own who you are, even the good and bad, like if you take steps backwards, you don't ever want to you don't want to have anchors. And what I mean by anchors is like, you get stuck. You get stuck in this resentment. You get stuck in this place where you can't forgive. You get stuck in this place of disappointment in your spouse or your kids. You're living vicariously through them, and you want them to do something and they let you down, and you're anchored that, right? Like the anchoring of that is like, it is reverse, because everything is going to have a forward motion from that point forward. And we got, that our topic of our podcast, never in reverse. It is our goal to literally have lightness and extreme accountability and forgiveness to allow things to move naturally and progress. Whether, everything happened around us, we just got to learn to be that chameleon and let it happen. It doesn't mean that we might not part we might part ways. You might have indifferences along the way, but we don't want anchors.
No.
Those anchors, man, I've been in that spot where I was an anchor. Heavy anchor.
Was it just your position, your opinion, your stance?
Yes. Yeah.
It was.
I created resentment, and I developed this storyline in my head where I was going to be the most stubborn. I was stubborn. I'm not going to let her. It was in my marriage. I'm not going to let her win. This is how it's going to be. I'm the man of the home.
Right.
And, I wasn't the teammate of the home that was going to be highly accountable in our relationship. It was my way.
Kind of sounds like the way you treat me here at work.
Oh, it's it's not. It's a natural beatdown.
Oh,
but I only get 2 hours with you because you're up by 9:30, 10, and you're done by
noon.
noon.
I just ignore all those phone calls throughout the day too. Here he is again. No, nope.
Well, yeah, because he's in the rack. It's like an alarm clock.
Yeah, get up, let's go.
No, but I think it's just the anchoring mentality is it's a big one, right, for me. And I'm really just in the self-discovery side of like trying to have fast forgiveness so that I can be accountable to that, because it is my problem.
Yeah.
And working through that for my family and my loved ones and my friends, just understanding that they're human.
Well, and it's checking that ego, right? Like you're saying, you kind of this old school mentality. I'm the man of the house. I make the financial decisions. What I say goes.
Yeah.
My way or the highway, right? Well, I think a lot has changed in culture. Wives and mothers aren't just stay-at-home moms anymore. Most of them have careers. They have other obligations outside of what's in the household. In this daily life and environment, it almost takes two incomes to make a household work in a lot of cases. So, there's got to be a lot of check and balance, a lot of ebb and flow, in today's culture and today's work environment and today's households. It's not, the man comes home from work and dinner's on the table and the laundry's done, and the kids are bathed. No. Mom's been working too. Your wife works, mine works. Most of my family and friends, wives, have careers, successful careers as well. So then at home, it takes teamwork, and responsibility and accountability, to make it all come together, because it can't be a one-sided narrative. It can't be.
Yeah, and
Not
I think
anymore.
that just comes down to us being accountable and leading as men in our homes and our lives, and having a sense of peace, walking in that motion where you're highly you're in tune with your environment. Something comes at you that
read the room.
But something that let's just you're on a vacation and something that comes at you from the sideline that isn't part of what you're originally thinking. Don't let it set it off in a spiral. Just be in tune with yourself and your home and your family enough to let that just be part of that trip. Doesn't mean that you need to set and derail your train. And we as men, I'll tell you what, my family follows me. If I'm in a bad mood, guess who's in a bad mood?
Oh,
Every
exactly.
single one of them.
It rolls downhill.
Oh, It's all of them. And it starts with me, not my wife.
Yep.
It's the natural instinct, right? They're coming to dad, and they're gonna follow suit. So for us, let's be highly accountable men. Let's sit back and have a grace. Leave it at the door.
Exactly. And I'll come in, I'll see my wife sometimes, and I could tell that she's at that boiling point. She works from home, and the kids, the youngest ones are home at 2:30, and they're running around the house, hair's on fire, and she's trying to work. And, I'll come through the front door and I can see, there's days I can tell okay, it's not perfect here. So I'll come in and try to lighten the mood with a little bit of sarcasm or a joke or something. Sometimes that goes over well. Sometimes it does not, but you just, I've gotten better at coming in, especially after work, and trying to read the room, right. With the kids and, how's your day? Ask my wife, same deal. How's your day? And I could see that the boiling point's there. It's like, okay, I got to step up. I got to take some weight off her shoulders. You know, I'll make dinner tonight. I'll rotate the laundry. You know, I'll read with the kids. You know, just to let them.
Yeah, let's go on a family walk. Let's go get some fresh air. You know, because guess what? When you get those moments and you don't, you know, it's our job. We have to own that, right? Like show up, man. Because if you walk into that home and you fall in line with maybe that vacation that had that person that came into the perfect thought that you had and derails your train, man, we got to keep it steering down that positive path. And and I used to just let things derail me, and I'd be going down avenues that were like totally opposite of what I originally thought because it wasn't in my control, or I was the man and this thought is crazy because it doesn't match me, or whatever, you know, crazy stories I told myself that were not team based. The accountability, I was just extreme accountability with only what I thought, right? Like good or bad.
Your position, your perspective. Yep.
100%. So I think, you know, as we wind down this topic, I think it's so important just to sit and Doug, as we evolve as men and leaders in our organization and our families, just allow these anchors and these derailment situations to bring peace, and not let it just overly affect the rest of your day or the rest of who's around you in your environment in the moment. It's difficult, you know, but you're hit the nail on the head. It's just trying to find ways to, sometimes you just got to let the cards play themselves. Just take a deep breath.
Yep.
And just say, it's already happened. It's going to be unchanged. All I can do is show up.
Yep.
And own that situation in a peaceful manner. And we're going to create layers of peace in our homes and our friends and our families that is just full of, I would say, serenity, like that Zen, right? When we get ready for things, we just got to take a deep breath and just say, man, what do I want this situation to look like?
Yeah.
You know, I know we don't paint it like, you know, World War II. So let's take that ownership and accountability throughout this in life and just create this perfect harmony.
And I'm so glad we're recording this, because the thing is here later on, after you probably rip my ass later this week, I'm going to tell you to go watch this. Practice what you preach.
Hey, I got a lot of work. I only get 2 hours with you a day, so.
Oh, gosh. No, I'm
guys,
just kidding. There are the moments.
Let's wrap this bad boy up, though. We appreciate you guys joining us on Never in Reverse podcast. We look forward to you guys joining us down the road, and
good times.
Hopefully have a great conversations in the future. Thanks so much.
Thanks again.